All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the nation of Israel. Right, this is a video that I was watching here, right, which is entitled Top Nasty Neighbors Compilation. Right, and I'm just gonna quickly play a few points in this video, man. Let's see what's happening here.
Oh, okay. Not too worried about that. Go on.
What?
Get out of here.
What do you think you're gonna do about it?
Alright, so that looks like a bugged out Karen, spazzing off, foaming at the mouth. Alright, a bugged out Edomite, by the way. An Idumean.
What's your word? What's your word? What am I doing wrong, dude?
Problem here in the neighborhood. You know, you're going
Hey,
by here.
these guys have a house that's 5 times your house.
Bothering your dog?
Just stay in your own neighborhood.
You see? More arguments and discrepancies. What's this?
Stop. Oh shit, nigga, you better step back.
You see? Some Edomite, some bugged out thinking that they're a Jake. You know? What else?
What were the kids playing with? I'll talk slowly. What were the kids playing with?
Alright, so all you can see anyway, what you can just clearly see, man, is that these people are continually always arguing with each other right now in these times, man. And part of the reason why this stuff happened is because of covetousness, right? So there might be a person living around the area, right? And he thinks that he's the man, right? He might be the richest guy around the area. He might have the nicest house. He might have the nicest lawn, right? He mows his lawn all the time, and he's the most pristine lawn. You know, he's got the best flower arrangements around the area. He's got the nicest car. And then another guy might move around the area now that's got a nicer car than him, right? Or has got something else that's nicer than his, or has got a nicer garden than his, and got more funds to be able to get a nicer garden. So then now this neighbor's going to covet that, and he's going to be bitter towards his neighbor having that, because that's going to make him feel insecure about his own ranking within the neighborhood, right? And that's how these people are, man. These people are not deep, man. These people in this world will be jealous of you, right, for having a 2005 car, and theirs might be 2003, or they might be jealous of you having a year 2000 car because theirs is the year 2099, or they might be angry that you was able to buy Kellogg's cornflakes, but they was only able to buy as the brand cornflakes. You know, like these people will try, or you might have bought some organic milk that cost 20p more than the other milk, and now they're bitter about that. Or they might see you buy some almond milk and say, who does he think he is buying almond milk? Why can't he just drink cow's milk? Who does he think he is? That's the kind of bug out people that we're dealing with in this world, man. This is Exodus chapter 20 and verse 17. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 17. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. And these people in this world right now, man, they'll covet anything of their neighbors, man, right? They'll covet their neighbor's wife for damn sure, right? A man might have a woman, right? And the other guy might have a woman himself, right? But his woman might weigh 20 pounds less than their woman, and might have a fatter ass than their woman. So now they're going to be trying to scheme a way to try and get your woman. They might throw a party. Oh, I'm having a soiree tomorrow night. You want to come round? Right? Throw a party. Yeah. And then now they're trying to get everyone drunk so that they can try and plot the seed to try and find out a time to clap your wife. Yeah? That's how this world is, man. That's how this world is. Or a woman might try and be trying to scheme on the man that's moved around the area, that might be just that 1 or 2 inches taller than her husband, right? He might be a little bit younger, but still have the same assets and all that, right? He might have a more chiseled chin line, you know? He might have a more stronger looking physique. So now she might try and scheme a way to try and get with him. Try and tell her husband, let's throw a party and invite the neighbors round. Let's have a dinner party and invite the neighbors round and get it going, so that she can try and find a way to commit adultery on her husband, man. Because we best believe that in this world, women are the main ones committing adultery versus men committing adultery, man. Could these women be using social media and all of these things, their fake girls' nights and all of that, to be trying to commit adultery, man? And the reason why I'm saying all of this stuff is to let it be known, man, to let it be known that when all hell breaks loose, these people have already got reasons against their neighbor to try and do their neighbor harm, and reasons that they've made up in their mind that they think are valid reasons to cause their neighbor harm. So when it goes down, these people ain't really going to care about doing anything to the neighbor, man. They're not going to really care. They're going to use the lack of bread as an excuse. The lack of bread is going to be the final straw, right? This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So when there's lack of bread, that's when people are really going to lose the plot, man. When there's lack of bread. And a lot of these Karen neighbors that are around that always be harassing people, right? They normally live by themselves, man. They normally live by themselves, and that's the reason why they keep bothering men all the time and harassing men, because they just need a man's time and attention to be aimed at them, even if it's for an argument, man. Because they can't handle not being spoken to. A woman can't handle, as far as I can see, a woman can't handle being ignored, man. Right? She can't handle being by herself and having to meditate on what she's actually like as a person, man. And that's why it was them that was struggling the most during the lockdown. That's why it was them that was catching the hell most in that time, man. But like I said, a lot of these Karen neighbors and that, they're normally by themselves and nobody takes care of them. No, that's why they like that. So when it's all hell breaks loose there, a lot of them are going to be some of the main targets that their neighbors are going to be coming and spoiling their house for the lack of bread from, man. Right? And one scene in the movie that reminds me of a certain circumstance that we could see on a mass scale, man, is the movie Purge. Right? There's the movie Purge. I think it's the third one, but either way it goes, it's in one of the movie Purge series, right? And there's a character in that movie called Diego, right? And when the Purge begins, he breaks into the house of his female neighbor, right? That's got a daughter and lives there. I think she lives there with her granddad. With her father, excuse me, right? And he breaks in there, and he's there to try and what them, man, right? He's there to what her, right? And he has a little like monologue, a little speech before, and he says something along the lines of, "Every week you pass by me like I ain't shit," right? Well, today's my night to purge, right? This is granted to me by the newfound fathers. He comes into the house with a big ass shotgun longer than his arm in his hand. He doesn't have one button on his shirt done up, right? He's sweating, right? Like he's been drinking and doing drugs, right? His eyes are red, right? And he's vicious and violent, looking for his neighbor to do her harm, man, right? And that's going to be a common situation that we're going to see, man. And there was recently, in fact, to tell another story in the real world, there was recently a story where a father had to shoot his daughter's ex-boyfriend, right? That randomly just started calling her up again after she claims that he hadn't seen her for 2 years, right? So who knows how that relationship went down, man? Who knows what evil she might have did to him, man? To where he felt the need to come back to her house again after not seeing her for years to try and break into her family home. Who knows how that relationship ended? Who knows? Did she commit adultery on him? Who knows what happened, man? But whatever it was that happened, he felt the need to come back there and try to break into the house. But luckily for her, the father was a man and not no punk, right? And executed protection for his daughter, man. He protected his daughter from that guy, which shows that a man's necessary, man. A man's necessary. And let me get a scripture on that. Because this world right now, they like to try and bun out men and try and just tell men that you got to do what we say and think that you got to do what we do, right? But as soon as things go down, then all of a sudden they need men. The women like to run around, going wherever they want to go, gallivanting all over the earth, doing whatever they want to do. But then when it comes to a time where somebody needs to protect something, then all of a sudden they expect a man's just supposed to stand up and protect the man. And that's not how it's going to go down. The way how it's going to go down is the women are going to come begging men for protection. Isaiah chapter 4 and verse 1. And all the women that don't have that humble spirit are going to be rejected, man. They're going to be the women that are going to be trodden down like the mire of the streets. Isaiah chapter 32 and verse 2. And a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, and rivers of it, and as rivers of water in a dry place. Exactly. So imagine you was in a dry place and then you see a river. You're going to be happy as hell, man. That's like how women are gonna be when they see a man. And there's another movie. Let me see if I can remember the name. Bushwick, right? And it's got Dave Bautista in there, right? And the movie starts off with a like pretty-ish Edomite woman with a Edomite husband or whatever, right? And they're walking through the subway, just talking, right? And he's like one of those office job Edomites, like he might be an estate agent, a lawyer, an accountant, one of those kind of guys, not really a tough, raw dude. He ain't got no beard on his face and none of that, right? And anyway, he they're walking out the train station and then they just see a man on fire, right? And then they run out of the train station to try and find some safety, and the boyfriend gets like blown up or something like that, man, and he's dead straight away. He's just dead after that. Then the woman goes walking around, running around through the streets, right? And she's just catching hell. She's getting chased around by some guys that witness her doing a murder or something like that, and then they chase her down to an empty apartment somewhere, right? That she runs to, and they think it's an empty apartment anyway, and they try and do the you know what to her, right? They attempt to, right? And they was going to, but then that's when Dave Bautista's character steps into the scene, right? And absolutely destroys those guys, right? And when that woman sees him, she's happy beyond belief, as if she saw rivers after being in a dry place. And that's what it's gonna be like, man. But except it's gonna be women are gonna be happy to see a man of the Lord, because even the tough guys are gonna be getting that work rate in the day of the Lord, man. They ain't gonna be just standing out and being tough, right? Which is gonna be on the next topic that I'm gonna be talking about. Let me finish the scripture. And as the shadow of a rock in a weary land, exactly. If you're in a hot land, right, and you're just looking for some shade, and then you find a rock, a big rock that can produce you shade, man, to cool you down, you're gonna be happy to find it. You're gonna be happy to find that, man, and you're gonna dwell there for a long time. That's what a man's gonna be like in the days to come. A woman ain't gonna be like that. A woman's actually gonna be a burden in that time, man. A woman's gonna be a burden, and that's why it's only gonna be women that are humble that are even gonna have a chance at getting any help from men. It's not going to be like what women see on Game of Thrones, where you've got Michonne with a samurai sword, slaying people, hitting men with glass in the eyes, and that. That's for the movies, man. That's for TV. That stuff's on TV shows. In reality, whenever a fight breaks out, all you hear from women is loads of screaming, man. Which is why the scriptures say this also. Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Isaiah 32 and verse 9. Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Tremble, ye women that are at ease. Be ye troubled, ye careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. Now, a woman's life, if a woman didn't age, man, oh my days, if a woman didn't age, like, like there's a movie out there called In Time, right? And if women went up to the age of 25, right, and then just was able to just remain as what their beauty is at the age of 25 and never change, right? These women would probably never be humble, right? But them getting old is what makes them be humble, man. That's one of the main ways that women become humble, man. Is by becoming old. And then there's the other way that it mentions in the Bible as well, by where a man's not able to put his wife away after if he did that to her, right? Which that's not to be done in this society, man, because your ass will go to jail, right? Verse 12. They shall lament for the teach, for the pleasant field, for the fruitful vine. So they're going to be hoping for those times where they was able to just go out to the club with no purse, no ID, right, no money, and still have a better night than a man that's working 60 hours a week. They were still able to have more things bought for them in that. They was still able to get a week's worth of alcohol spent on them. They were still able to get a week's worth of I said a week's worth of alcohol, a week's worth of wages spent on them in the club. But they was able to still get a month's worth of wages for a guy spent on him on a date, man. The amount that the average man might have to work for a whole month to make, they're getting that spent on them on a date, man, with a guy that they're not going to sleep with at the end of that date, by the way. They're just, that's a foodie call guy that they just set up for food. He's saved in a number as Salt Bay, a Salt Bay's restaurant or something like that, because she only calls him when she's going there. They was hoping they're going to be lamenting for those times, man, but those times ain't coming back again. Now, onto the next group of people, man, that really get on my nerves, man, right? And that I really, really need to hear about the judgment coming for them too. This is Jeremiah chapter 9 and verse 23. Thus saith Yahweh, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Now, these mighty men of this world will be like the athletes, the combat sports athletes and that, but the combat sports athletes have got somewhat of a kind of respectful code because they show their might against other mighty men. But then you've got other people in this world that think that they're mighty men, and that will be these gangsters and these gang members and these guys that be lurking around at night in their car, looking you up and down, peeping their head out the corner, peeping their head out the car, looking you up and down like they're gonna do something, man. These grime balls, man. These slimy people. A lot of them think that they're tough, right? But the only reason why they get away with a lot of the stuff that they get away with is because the average person is not on what they're on right now. The average person is, when they come and harass them and try to rob them, whatever they want to do, the average person is thinking, mate, I got work in the morning. Do whatever you want to do. I ain't got the time for this. Or they're worried about paying a mortgage, or they're worried about looking after their kids for like the basic thing, taking their kids to school, paying rent and all that stuff. They're worried about that kind of stuff. But when all of those thought processes have gone out the window, then a lot of these guys that think that they're tough and they think that they're gangsters are going to realize that they're not strong, man, right? That a lot of these gangster rappers and all of that, just type on the internet, rappers punching the pads or something like that, or rappers boxing, and you will see that a lot of these guys are not even tough, man. The average man has got more ability to defend himself one-on-one than the average one of these so-called gangster guys, man. The average man be in the gym, they be training, they be going to boxing classes, they be going kickboxing when they was younger, they be training mixed martial arts, they be doing MMA. They live a life that's hard labor. Sometimes they might be a construction worker or something like that. I'd rank a construction worker to beat up the average so-called thug in a fight one-on-one any day, right? And a lot of these gangster guys that think that they're tough, they're going to realize in that day when Yahweh sets his wrath upon the earth that they was not ever tough, man. They're going to try that gangster stuff in that time and they're going to get cracked in the head, man. And there was one brother that used to always say from the London camp, a lot of these guys that think that they're tough, when all hell breaks loose, they're going to be running and hiding in bins, man. And that's true. They're going to realize that they was never tough and that everybody else was just being so-called civilized, man. They was just holding it down because they didn't want to deal with that. They didn't want to deal with you people, man. They was thinking about the consequences of the law. Verse 23 again, thus saith Yahweh, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might, let not the rich man glory in his riches, but let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and know of me, that I am Yahweh which exercise loving kindness, judgment and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, saith the Lord. And if Yahweh delights in the things that you do, then guess what? Even your enemies are going to be at peace with you in the day of the Lord's wrath, man. He's, to a certain degree, of course, because there's certain things that are according to prophecy, but where people have to be against us, man. But he's going to allow us to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove for situations that's needed. Then he's going to allow us to be mighty and strong in the body for times when that might be needed, man. He's going to allow us to be able to be ready and prepared to be able to get by every single situation, even if it's scarcely. Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 7, when a man's ways please Yahweh, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. So when we're doing the things that Yahweh wants us to do, these people can't cause us no harm, man. Now let me get this scripture. Isaiah